and stood, leering and bowing, close by Ralph's side, when the door opened, and there entered in haste, not Bray and his daughter, but Nicholas and his sister Kate. If some tremendous apparition from the world of shadows had suddenly presented itself before him, Ralph Nickleby could not have been more thunderstricken than he was by this surprise. His hands fell powerless by his side. He reeled back, and with open mouth and a face of ashy paleness, stood gazing at them in speechless rage, his eyes so prominent, and his face so convulsed and changed by the passions which raged within him, that it would have been difficult to recognize in him the same stern, composed, hard-featured man he had not been a minute ago. "The man that came to me last night," whispered Gride, plucking at his elbow. "The man that came to me last night." "I see," muttered Ralph. "I know. I might have guessed as much before. Across my every path, at every turn, go where I will, do what I may, he comes. The absence of all colour from the face, the dilated nostril, the quivering of the lips, which though set firmly against each other would not be still, showed what emotions were struggling for the mastery with Nicholas. But he kept them down, and gently pressing Kate's arm to reassure her, stood erect and undaunted, front to front with his unworthy relative. As the brother and sister stood side by side, with a gallant bearing which became them well, a close likeness between them was apparent, which many, had they only seen them apart, might have failed to remark. The air, carriage, and very look and expression of the brother were all reflected in the sister, but softened and refined to the nicest limit of feminine delicacy and attraction. More striking still was some indefinable resemblance, in the face of Ralph, to both, while they had never looked more handsome, nor he more ugly, while they had never held themselves more proudly, nor he shrunk half so low. There never had been a time when this resemblance was so perceptible, or when all the worst characteristics of a face, rendered coarse and harsh by evil thoughts, were half so manifest as now. "Away" was the first word he could utter as he literally gnashed his teeth. "Away! What brings you here? Liar, scoundrel, dastard, thief!" "I come here," said Nicholas in a low, deep voice, "to save your victim if I can. Liar and scoundrel you are in every action of your life. Theft is your trade, and double dastard you must be, or you were not here today. Hard words will not move me, nor would hard blows. Here I stand, and will till I have done my errand." "Girl," said Ralph, "retire. We can use force to him, but I would not hurt you if I could help it. Retire, you weak and silly wench, and leave this dog to be dealt with as he deserves." "I will not retire," cried Kate, with flashing eyes and the red blood mantling in her cheeks. "You will do him no hurt that he will not repay. You may use force with me. I think you will, for I am a girl, and that would well become you. But if I have a girl's weakness, I have a woman's heart, and it is not you who, in a cause like this, can turn that from its purpose." "And what may your purpose be, most lofty lady?" said Ralph. "To offer to the unhappy subject of your treachery, at this last moment," replied Nicholas, "a refuge and a home. If the near prospect of such a husband as you have provided will not prevail upon her, I hope she may be moved by the prayers and entreaties of one of her own sex. At all events, they shall be tried. I myself are vowing to her father, from whom I come, and by whom I am commissioned, will render it an act of greater baseness, meanness, and cruelty in him, if he still dares to force this marriage on her. Here I wait to see him and his daughter. For this I came and brought my sister, even into your presence. Our purpose is not to see or speak with you. Therefore to you we stoop to say no more. Indeed, said Ralph, you persist in remaining here, ma'am, do you? His niece's bosom heaved with the indignant excitement into which he had lashed her, but she gave him no reply. Now, Gride, see here, said Ralph, this fellow, I grieve to say my brother's son, a reprobate and profligate, stained with every mean and selfish crime. This fellow, coming here today to disturb a solemn ceremony, and knowing that the consequence of his presenting himself in another man's house at such a time, and persisting in remaining there, must be his being kicked into the streets, and dragged through them like the vagabond he is. This fellow, mark you, brings with him his sister as a protection, thinking we would not expose a silly girl to the degradation and indignity which is no novelty to him. And even after I have warned her of what must ensue, he still keeps her by him, as you see, and clings to her apron strings like a cowardly boy to his mother's. Is not this a pretty fellow to talk as big as you have heard him now? And as I heard him last night, said Arthur Gride, as I heard him last night when he sneaked into my house, and he very soon sneaked out again when I nearly frightened him to death. And he wanting to marry Miss Madeline too. Oh there! Is there anything else he'd like? Anything else we can do for him, besides giving her up? Would he like his debts paid and his house furnished, and a few banknotes for shaving paper if he shaves at all? He 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 he! You will remain, girl, will you? Said Ralph, turning upon Kate again. To be hauled downstairs like a drunken crab. I say, I swear you shall, if you stop here. No answer. Thank your brother for what follows. Gride, call down Bray and not his daughter. Let them keep her above. If you value your head, said Nicholas, taking up a position before the door, and speaking in the same low voice in which he had spoken before, and with no more outward passion than he had before displayed, stay where you are. Mind me and not him, and call down Bray, said Ralph. Mind yourself rather than either of us, and stay where you are, said Nicholas. Will you call down Bray? Cried Ralph. Remember that you come near me at your peril, said Nicholas. Gride hesitated. Ralph, being by this time as furious as a baffled tiger, made for the door, and attempting to pass Kate, clasped her arm roughly with his hand. Nicholas, with his eyes darting fire, seized him by the collar. At that moment, a heavy body fell with great violence on the floor and above, and in an instant afterwards was heard a most appalling and terrific scream. They all stood still and gazed upon each other. Scream succeeded scream. A heavy pattering of feet succeeded, and many shrill voices clamoring together were heard to cry, "He is dead!" Stand off, cried Nicholas, letting loose all the passion he had restrained till now. If this is what I scarcely dare to hope it is, you are caught, villains, in your own toils. He burst from the room, and darting upstairs to the quarter from whence the noise proceeded, forced his way through a crowd of